Hello, welcome to Sportsmole's 2016-17 Reader Awards. We're here to discuss the best signing of the season in the Premier League. The nominees for this award were David Luiz, Chelsea, Fernando Llorente, Idrissa Gueye, Marcos Alonso, N'Golo Kante, Sadio Mane, Victor Wanyama and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Any of them stand out for you, Matt?
I think you'd have to say Ibrahimovic stands out in terms of value for money. Talking about the best signing, I know wages are obviously a big thing, but to come in on a free transfer, a player of that quality, and there was talks over whether he could perform at this level. Obviously PSG, absolutely, he was the king there. I think he said, didn't he, when he left, he was sort of the main man, and he was. And to come in, I think it was a shame that his season ended when it did with that serious knee injury. He got 17 league goals in 28 games. Chipped in with some assists as well, and depending if you're talking about the sign of the season in terms of value for money, then Ibrahimovic is up there as well. But I think there's a few others. Might have mentioned Llorente as well from Swansea. Chipped in 15 league goals for a Swansea team. That's big, isn't it? For some important goals as well, wasn't it? Late goals, and there was that stat, wasn't there, about he had the least number of sprints or something in the Premier League for a while. But he's just not that type of player. But you get the ball in the box and he will cause problems. He's big and strong, and I think those sort of players who didn't come in for a lot of money. Obviously, Llorente came in. It was undisclosed, the fee. I think they said it was a 2-year deal, undisclosed, and to come in for two big strikers for no money almost, apart from obviously wages, those two stand out for me. But there's obviously the obvious ones in there as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting category because it depends what you want from it. As you say, value for money is a big deal, and in terms of that, it's quite hard to argue against Ibrahimovic because he on a free transfer to get a player of that quality is very rare. But he came with a big reputation. He was expected to do well. Obviously, there was some people doubting his ability to do it in England, and there was even that when he was in the very prime of his career, yet alone at 35. He proved them all wrong. A fantastic season. There's also the effect they have on the team, which I think Llorente is probably near the top of. Would Swansea have stayed up without him? Probably not. You look at the recent fight, the 5-4 win against Crystal Palace back in November when he scored 2 late goals. Crucial win for them this season, and they got a lot more crucial goals. People underappreciated players like Idrissa Gueye. He was in a Villa side which was panned as being one of the worst in Premier League history last season, but he was individually a very good performer. I think last season he was only second to Kante in terms of tackles and interceptions, and Everton saw that, they got it, and he had a fantastic effect on the team. But I mentioned him just there. For me, I think N'Golo Kante is the signing of the season. He's won the PFA Player of the Year award. He's won the FWA Footballer of the Year award. Another superb season for him. It seemed just a no-brainer for someone to snap him up because Leicester, they were always going to struggle to repeat the heroics of last season, and he's just an incredible player. He's just such an effective player all over the field. Any team in the world he'd get into, which you can't really say about too many players in the world. He's obviously not got the quality of some of the greatest players in the world, but he's one of the most effective, I think, all over the pitch. He covers every blade of grass. He's such a good shield for the defence. I think to get him, and for, in this day and age, a relatively cheap price of just over £30 million, I think, back-to-back Premier League titles. He's won now with 2 different clubs as well. Sensational signing for me. He'd be my choice.
There's a few also in there mentioned as well. Victor Wanyama from Tottenham was obviously experienced at Southampton. I think he's had a great season, isn't he? Slightly into midfield, popped up with some goals as well, 4 goals. Got an assist in there as well. So he popped up with some big goals, didn't he? And David Luiz as well at the other end of the spectrum, talking about free transfers, 50 million. The most expensive defender of all time, and he's done well, hasn't he, to be fair, but in terms of the sign of the season, I wouldn't really put him up there for this one because it's a lot of money for that player. He's had a great season, but Mane as well was in there. I think Eric Bailly's a touch unfortunate to miss out in this. I think he had a really good season for Manchester United, but obvious ones, I think Ibrahimovic should be up there, and Kante you'd expect to be up there, but it's an interesting one, top 3.
3 Chelsea signings up there, which is obviously as a result of their fantastic performance this season, but you've got to say they recruited well, because certainly Luiz and Marcos Alonso, we haven't really mentioned yet, both in there. Both signings were criticised when they originally came in, but both players have done fantastically well and been among the best players in their position this season. But for signing of the season, shall we see who we've got?
Third place, we've got Sadio Mane with 9% of the votes. Second place is Zlatan Ibrahimovic, 21% of the votes. The winner, N'Golo Kante, with 56% of the votes. So
big victory for Kante there. Do you agree with that? Top 3?
Not sure about Mane. I think he's done well, but he's been injured stage of season. I think I've mentioned Ibrahimovic. Kante's up there. Wanyama, and Llorente 6th and 7th respectively. Llorente only got over 1% of the votes, just over. So yeah, that's maybe a touch harsh, but I think Kante was always going to be the obvious one in this, and he's obviously got the bulk of the votes, which doesn't surprise me. No.
Yeah, I can't argue with Kante getting 56% of the votes. I mean, Mane was in there, he had a superb season. You saw how important he was to Liverpool when he came out of the team for the Africa Cup of Nations, and when he was injured towards the end of the campaign. I think if Liverpool had him in the team the entire season, they would have qualified for the top four a lot more comfortably. The top two, I don't think I can really argue with. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, as you said, value for money has been sensational. Big wages, obviously, but to get a player like that for a free transfer is very good business. And obviously suffered a serious knee injury, could end his Manchester United career. Hopefully won't end his career in total. But if he stays on and returns next season, again he'll be a big player for them because he shows no signs of slowing down. He's got a ridiculous statistic of how many goals he scored since the age of 30. It must be more than anyone else in history. Seems to get better and better with age. So no surprise to see him up there. But for me, Kante the right decision. So N'Golo Kante is your Premier League signing of the season.